Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about the build that I'm using to farm my 144 Crimson Temple Magic Find project, which is a Death Oath / CA like Caustic Arrow Occultist, which is fully based around Chaos Dot, a bunch of Quant, which is like, I think this project or this build turned out like so much better than I initially expected, right? So first of all, why would you play a Death Oath character in something in an environment like magic finding, right? And there is like two things that I wanted to say here is it depends on the map layout that you want to farm. So for example, if I would have said, okay, instead of Crimson Temple, we're gonna get run like a Burial Chamber map, right? Then I would not have picked this build just because it's a wide open area, so you're probably better suited with like a bow character or something. But since I decided to run Crimson Temple because of like the Mage Blood card, the Enlighten card, the Empower card, the 7 years bad luck, like there's so many cool things that drops in this map. But it is a different layout. It is a very tight layout, you know, a lot of like corridors and tunnels and stuff like that. So I said like, probably a bow character is not the best. I need something that is super chill, that clears very good on like close combat maps, right? And I said like, why not Death Oath? But because Death Oath is like a super cheap build to get going, and it does exactly what I made it for, which is super lazy farming. All I do is just hold down my Withering Steps, so left click, run around, and I see mobs explode. And for the more tanky mobs like map bosses or generals in legions or a Cozy's Omniphobia spawn or whatever, anything that is like more tanky, essence monsters for example, we have Caustic Arrow to boost our single target. So if an essence monster is right here in the waypoint, right, I just shoot my Caustic Arrow, leaves the ground, and then I open the essence, it will just die right away. And as I said, this build started as a like budget, I want to run tier 11 Crimson Temple maps, and I spent a total of like, I think 4 Exalts, while like 2 Exalts is the Asenath's Touch, and the rest of the 2 Exalts were the rest of the entire gear, right? And I run around with this build and I said like, bro, this is actually fantastic. I had absolutely no problems doing like the tier 11 maps, but I said, you know what, I want to put this like one step further. I want to farm tier 16 maps, and I don't want to worry too much if I get a Delirium Mirror. I don't want to, I also want to do the map bosses, for example, because we all know if you farm like altars and stuff and you grind up the basic boss tokens or fragments or stuff, they also sell, so you generate more passive income if you run those maps in tier 16 or tier 14 plus, whatever, right? And that's why I said like, I want to invest more, and my current version is round about 40 Exalts worth of what you're gonna see here, right? But I also want to mention that more than half of the Exalts, over 20 Exalts, is basically only gems. Since I'm using a bunch of Awakened gems, they are absolutely not necessary. And my Watcher's Eye is a 1-stat Malevolence .multi, and they are also going for like 8 Exalts or something, right? 7, 8 Exalts. So I would say Awakened gems plus this Watcher's Eye is more than half of the worth of the character, because the gear itself is like super cheap to get going, and I think for what it costs and what it does, it's actually a very good build. So I would say we're just gonna run one map as an example map, you know, and then we're gonna talk over the build, the gems, these item substitutions and stuff like that, and then we're gonna go from there, right? So as I said, Crimson Temple map, a pretty corridor kind of like layout, right? It's like, as I said, all I do is hold on left click, it's Withering Step, so I move faster, and then I just let stuff explode thanks to the Profane Bloom from Occultist as well as the Asenath's Touch, right? There are things that kill me on this map, since I'm basically just YOLO everything. I really have like this softcore mentality when it comes to like strong boxes, when it comes to these altars and stuff. I don't even read what the altar is doing, I just click on it, right? So yeah, sometimes it happened, as well as like opening strong boxes and I'm too slow to read that there is like exploding monsters or the Ice Nova coming in, you know. Yeah, that shit one-shots you. It's not like the tankiest build that is out there, right? We do use Purity of Elements for ailment immunity, we do use the Defiance Banner as well as Determination, so we are kind of protected in a certain way, but overall, I would say it is. You have to understand, it's a magic finder, it's a speed mapper or a very like lazy mapper. This build is not designed to do uber pinnacle bosses, you know, so if you want to take this build further without magic find, you can obviously do that as well. But overall, I just I just like this build. From the beginning, when I said, like, I just want to make a budget 5x Magic Finder to just run around when I'm bored, you know, until to the point where I said, like, dude, I really like this build, I want to invest more into it. And now I'm even, like, considering getting away from the Magic Find and make, like, an actual build out of it that can do maybe, like, uber bosses and stuff, right? So, map is clear, basically. We're just gonna go to the boss. This is a bit awkward, but usually you just shoot your Caustic Arrow, and you see the boss damage for those tier 16 maps is totally fine, right? This boss is a little bit cheaty just because it teleports around, but there you go. The map is clear. Absolutely no effort gameplay. This is really, you could, like, watch Netflix and just, like, run around, you know? Just make sure that your loot filter is loud enough if you are able to get the Apothecary cards or something like that, right? Good. Let's start from the basics. Death Oath. So basically, this item gives you the what is it? The Death Aura when equipped. That means it works like Righteous Fire. So if I just show you that in Blood Aqueducts here, you basically just have an invisible Righteous Fire effect. Just it is chaos damage, right? This is how you have to, like, kind of imagine that. So this one here is Withering Step, by the way. So if I just go close to monsters and they're walking up to me, it depends, like, how big is your area, but the monster walk into my Death Aura and they're just gonna get killed for the chaos damage and then explode things like Arsenal's Touch, Profane Bloom because they're cursed, and so on, right? So imagine Death Oath as a Righteous Fire that is invisible, that just deals chaos damage instead of fire damage. And a lot of people ask me, why is your chest not 6-linked? And this is because the skill itself comes from the chest. So all I need to do is put 6 support gems in, and they will all work, right? The problem is you don't see your Death Aura over here. So the way you can see it is actually if you go to Offense on your tab and scroll right here, there is your Death Aura where you see how much damage it's doing, as well as the links that they are working, right? And the links that we have is efficacy support, then we have increased area of effect, which is not really a damage support, but, you know, I want to have, like, a smooth gameplay with a lot of area of effect. Then we have Swift Affliction, Void Manipulation, Life Tap, and Less Duration support. So the problem is there is not many support gems that can support Death Aura, right? And that's why we use Life Tap and Less Duration. Less Duration has a more damage multiplier. Yes, it has less skill effect duration, which is a downside for most things, you know, like Essence Drain. That would be, like, super bad if my Essence Drain doesn't last that long. But the Death Aura doesn't have a duration, right? It's just like, as long as monsters are in the circle, they're gonna get damage. If they move out, they don't get damage anymore, right? But the gem says still 90% more damage, and this counts for the Death Aura. The same with, like, Life Tap support. So Life Tap is a support gem similar to, like, Inspiration support, right? Where as long as you have the buff, you're gonna benefit from it. Sometimes you play, like, Inspiration on two, on 2 separate items, right? You, for example, have your shield charge with Inspiration and then your 6-link with Inspiration. But your 6-link doesn't generate the Inspiration charges, but your shield charge does. And as long as you have the buff, both will benefit from it. And this is the same process over here. My Death Aura doesn't cost mana. I cannot proc the Life Tap. But what can I do is use Withering Step with Life Tap. So as soon as I use Withering Step, oh, now I have my Life Tap buff. And the gem says, as long as you have Life Tap, which I currently have, we're gonna get more damage. So that's another way of, like, improving the damage of your Death Aura. And on top of that, the best way to scale your Death Aura is through Despair. So we do run a Despair with Blasphemy and increased area of effect, and we use the Impresence Amulet that our Despair has no mana reservation. So we could even go a step further and get, like, a big Empower in because we don't have a mana reservation. And if you take a look at my tree, my small cluster jewels, they all have Despair Curse Effect, or at least this Determination mana reservation. But here we have another Despair Curse Effect because the Despair will basically overlap with your Death Aura. So everything that will be killed from the Death Aura itself will also be affected by the Despair Curse Effect, right? And since we're Occultists, since we do have one additional curse, we also benefit from the Temp Chains from the Arsenal's Gentle Touch. So this is basically our main source of mapping damage. And now we're going to take a look at the Caustic Arrow. So Caustic Arrow is like a chaos dot arrow attack. That's why we actually run Bow and Quiver. That is basically scaling from the same source. Because what we want to do is we want to have increased chaos damage. Wait, let me quickly, like, just put away my life searches because they're going to interrupt the video and you guys gonna check your live searches all the time. No, it's my live search. No, they're gone. So if now a live search goes off, it's yours, okay? Just to mention. So we're gonna scale the same thing as every chaos build. Like we have like increased chaos damage, we have chaos damage over time multiplier, we have general dot multiplier, we have all these like kind of sources that will scale both our death aura as well as our attack, right? There is a better way of like doing a quiver, a more damage approach that is like, I think it was a hunter quiver or something, where you have chaos damage over time multiplier for attacks, as well as damage over time multiplier for attacks. This will only count for our Caustic Arrow and not for the Death Aura, just because it's not an attack, right? But over here we have the Caustic Arrow with Conk effect, because we don't use Caustic Arrow to clear. We're just gonna use it for killing big monsters. So we want to have the most damage possible, right? Then we have Void Manipulation, Swift Affliction, Vicious Projectiles, and an Empower support. Other than that, my auras here: Determination, Defiance Banner, Malevolence, Pure Developments. Malevolence, obviously the best like dot multi aura. Pure Developments just to get rest capped easier and to be ailment immune. The Determination for this base armor value, and Defiance Banner to empower that as well, right? So this is our like aura setup in general. Our Despair, Blasphemy, increased AoE, and power setup for cursing enemies. And here I have a Cast on Death portal. This is like one of the best things. This is like not something you would use in hardcore, but we are playing softcore, so I don't care. The worst thing that I want to have is, it happens that you die, as I explained before in the map showcase. Maybe you oversaw a strongbox with a bad mod or something, and you just get blown up, right? It takes quite a long time. Let's say it is on the end of the map, and then you have to like walk over until you reach that point, right? There's so much time lost. But Cast on Death portal, you die, you spawn a portal, and you just keep on going from where you basically died, right? Super good, super efficient. And then we have the life tab with Withering support, and here I have a Flame Dash, which is a kind of bit of a yikes, because Flame Dash and Withering Step actually block each other out. So I have a Withering Step up, I just lost a Flame Dash stack, and they will not recover, basically. So I use Flame Dash, my Withering Step goes on cooldown, now it will recover, but as soon as I actually use my Withering Step, it stops. Like, they block each other out, you know? So that's a little bit of a yikes. You can use something else, maybe a Smoke Mine, or maybe you don't even use Withering Step, but it gives like this wither effect on the monster, so they take more chaos damage, right? You could also just use a Phase Run. You can use, like, play around with the settings, play what you basically prefer to do. So let's talk a little bit about the gear. The helmet, that was just self-crafted. I just took like I think it was like a 30 chaos helmet, just with the Despair Curse effect. Then I did spam some of the Eldritch currency that we have somewhere over here. I think it was in the Fragments tab somewhere. No, wait, here, Exotic. So just use like the Grand Eldritch or the other ones, and I just choose to go with Mana Reservation Efficiency as well as Despair Curse Effect, since we know Despair Curse Effect is king. And then it's just like Chaos Band for life resistance, like nothing too fancy over here. The chest we talked about, you just need to check that it's off color and not that it's linked. Linking doesn't do anything, right? The quiver, life resistance. The bow, I picked up a hunter base, I linked and socketed it myself, and then I just spammed fossils, and the fossil combination that I used was Aberranth, as well as more chaos, and I think it was etheric for fewer attack modifiers. The reason for that is, it is a bow, right? So you're gonna get a lot of like lightning damage to attacks, fire damage, physical damage, like all of these kind of things, right? And with the etheric, we have fewer attack modifiers. My goal was actually just to get like a high level increased chaos damage over time that I hit on T4, which is actually pretty bad, but I also hit the T1 like one level of socketed gems, which then benefits my empower, and all these like dot skills scale very, very well with levels. So that's why the empower is actually so good in the main setup, right? But in a perfect case scenario, you want to have level of socketed gems, chaos damage over time, pretty much the prefixes that I have with the crafted socketed support gems, which count for empower. So my empower is actually level 6 right now with a level 3 empower. And then suffixes would be nice. Damage over time multiplier, chaos damage over time multiplier, whatever, you know, everything that gives damage. But it's not hard. I crafted this myself, and it didn't even take that much. I think like 30 fossil combinations, like 2 mod, and I did have this result. I said like, okay, I don't need more. I mean, obviously, if you want to bring this build to like killing endgame bosses and stuff like that, you maybe want to have some better stuff. But for what I built, it's plenty damage, as you saw in the boss damage, right? The rings, I choose to go with Pariah because if they have a white sockets, they give you 15 quantity. So that's 30 quantity, but in the other hand, those rings don't give me anything besides 10 attack and cast speed, right? So if you really struggle with resistance, you can just take Ventor's Gambles, right? In the Magic Find variation. The Alson's Gentle Touch, we talked about. The Viscous Leash, a typical Magic Find item, as well as the Goldworm Boots. They just give you quantity, 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 and I run like 55 quantity or something. For the flasks, anything that suits you, you know, movement speed. This is like, I just had like some random flasks in my flask tab that I just picked out, you know. I mean, this is cast speed, you know. What do I do with cast speed? For my Flame Dash? Probably not. Just, you know, an Onslaught maybe, a Quicksilver flask. Like, don't stress yourself to be like, oh no, I need the perfect flask setup for this mapping. I need Bottled Faith and a Dying Sun and I don't know what. Don't stress yourself. It's super easy build to put together and it's very strong. So let's take a look at the skill tree, and this is like where things get a little bit more interesting as well as a little bit more expensive, because the most expensive part are the cluster jewels, right? So here we use Glorious Vanity with Xibaqua to get the Divine Flesh, since every time we kill a monster with our Death Aura, we're gonna get a Chaos Dot basically for 3 seconds. And with this way, we actually have 81% Chaos Resistance. So 75 would be normal. Then I took this entire Chaos Cluster that helps you easily with the Chaos Resistance, as well as being an Occultist with the Withering Presence, another 60 Chaos Res. So it's like super easy to get your Chaos Res kept going. And then thanks to the one with Evil, we have 1 max Chaos Res, and thanks to Divine Flesh, we get another 5 Chaos Res. Makes us more resistance to elemental damage, and we don't even notice our Chaos Dot debuff. Over here, pretty good spot for a Transcendent Mind Jewel, gives you like a bunch of like dot multiplier. So for example, this jewel costs you 100 chaos, right? And it gives you 21 dot multi. My Watcher's Eye gives you also 22 multiplier, perfectly rolled, and it costs 8 exalts, right? So there you see, not just because it's expensive, it's actually good. So they have literally the same purpose, just the one thing is 100 chaos, this is like 0.6 exalts, and this is like 8 exalts, right? But if you want to squeeze out more damage, which is absolutely not necessary to get this Watcher's Eye, you can do it in this kind of fashion, right? So, good. Other than that, I put in here an Inspired Learning because we're going to skill up here anyways, and the only thing I added was this 1 skill point because you need 4 of the notables here allocated in the radius to get the benefits. Is it good? Questionable. Like, I personally, I wouldn't mind if I have an Inspired Learning, and I do also... Like, I don't care if I have one, right? I don't feel that I ever stole something, or... Let's say it like this. I don't think that Inspired Learning did ever change my gameplay, okay? If I get something, that's fine. If I get nothing, that's fine as well. If I steal, I don't even care what I steal, you know? That's why I say, that's 2 exalts. So if I don't want to go with this way, like, just don't use it, you know? Spend a skill point somewhere else and you're fine. It's like, that's also the reason why Headhunter is so cheap right now, because you... You know, Headhunter had other prime times, and that's the same with, like, Inspired Learnings. Good, let's talk about the cluster jewels. This is, your large cluster jewels is basically Wicked Paul with Unwavering Evil and Unholy Grace, where you only need 2, and then this actually, I think it was like 80 chaos or so, that's not the worst. But the medium clusters are. So basically, every single medium cluster you want to have, and I did run 2 large cluster jewels at one point, but I was too squishy. I only had 3k life, and I was getting one-shotted way more. So I said, like, you know what, I'm going to skip the second large cluster and just work with 1, and I still have plenty damage, so don't worry about that, right? But what you want to have is Flow of Life every time. If you want damage, you take Wicked Paul. If you want to have better sustain, you can take Brush with Evil, I think, or something where you have like dot multi and you get life and mana and energy shield or something when you kill enemies, right? But we also have this over here with the Blood Drinker where we recover 2% life on kill. So if you're low life and you run into the next pack, you're instantly full life again because of it, right? And if you say, okay, I actually struggle with chaos resistance, then take Flow of Life and Student of Decay. Student of Decay is another node that gives you, I think, 13 chaos res and some damage over time. So you're flexible on that, but they are all about 3 exalts a piece with a medium, right? And for the small one, you want to stack the Misery Everlasting, which is the node that gives you Despair Curse effect. And the second one that I took is Uncompromising, so because I needed the Determination, Mana Reservation Efficiency, so I actually can reserve all my auras that I have here. The only problem, or a little bit of a downside, if you want to call it like that, I cannot like permanently shoot my my Caustic Arrows. As you see, I shoot one and I probably need to wait 2 seconds until I can shoot the next one, right? As I said, you know, I don't really often use Caustic Arrow just for the map boss, you know, and sometimes, yeah, you have to like wait a second if he just teleport away, yeah, unfortunate, but I don't really want to invest into like kind of mana leech or mana region or something like that, whatever, you know, maybe on an end game version that can do all content, something like that, then maybe, but for my Magic Fund project, whatever, you know. But yeah, that's about the cluster jewels. Here I have a Megalomaniac that I found pretty interesting. It had Grim Oath, Flow of Life, and Mystery Everlasting. The small cluster jewels that we want to stack. Flow of Life, like life regen, super good. And I got Grim Oath. So you might say like, okay, Grim Oath, like 10% of Fizz is extra chaos. What kind of physical damage do we do, right? I mean, my Arsenet's Touch do physical damage, and they benefit from all sorts of Fizz's extra. So when this one popped up, it was 1 Exalt, you know, I needed those 2 nodes, and this was actually just buffing my explosion a little bit, you know, but I would say if you just want to play safe, because I'm already level 97, if you're like level 90 or so, then I would just skip this entire thing, like just skip those points here and invest your points into more life, and you will be better off. Path of Building link is in the description below if you just want to like sneak in and yeah, just work around with the things a little bit, right? Good, we talked about the jewels, the gearing, the playstyle, the flask, whatever. Pantheons, I don't even know, man. Take whatever you think is fine, you know? We are stun, are we actually stun immune? I don't even know. So, Pantheons do not really matter. If you say, yo, I'm getting stun locked, then take Brine King. If you say, like, I need more speed, then take Lunaris. If you say, like, oh, I'm getting one-shotted, like, I need more fizz damage mitigation, then take Solaris. Like, this... There's so many characters where I haven't even picked one because I forgot once I was leveling, right? So don't worry about that. Bandits, kill all. Then let's take a look at the MTX. We have here the purple skull helmet, the purple necrotic body armor, as well as gloves and boots with celestial footprints with a new astral character effect, the new Stygian crystalline charges effect. We have here the divergence bow, no quiver, basically attached here on the back side. We have the harmony wings, the pitch black bandana, as well as the purple flaming head helmet attachment. And then we basically have the Astral Portal effect. Other than that, we have the Celestial Caustic Arrow. All the auras I have disabled with the Invisible Buff effect, as well as the Siren Flame Dash effect. And that's pretty much it that I have allocated on this character. I'm just wondering, is there something that I'm missing? I have no idea. Oh yeah, my Amulet Anointment. I just picked up Graceful Assault just to have a better sustain on Onslaught. That's pretty much it, because I needed the speed. But yeah, I think we're gonna cut it right there. I think I explained quite fair enough how this entire thing works. And yeah, if you want to know more about the magic finding project that I'm currently doing, then check out the video that I uploaded like 2 days ago, which explains this entire like experiment. Good, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.